Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We're officially kicking off Trafera's first Techiest Heck Fest with this event with Holly. We're so excited about it. If you don't know about the event, we're going to talk about it a little bit at the end. Basically, it's a 5-day virtual experience where you can join us for different sessions like this one, find some free tools, join some giveaways, all sorts of online fun. So we'll talk about that a little bit at the end, but thank you so much for joining us. This is our fun, explosive kickoff today, and we're so happy that you're here to join us. I just have a few housekeeping things at the beginning of the hour. So we are doing some giveaways at the end, so stick around until the end. We have a survey for you to take, so make sure you do that. We'll ask you do it with a valid schoolwork email address. That's all you need to do to enter to get a free coffee and to enter to win our giveaway. And then the other thing I'd like to say is if you have any questions throughout the session, we do have the chat disabled today. So please put any questions you have in the Q&A section. If you don't know where that is, look for the waffle, bento box, app launcher, whatever you decide to call it. It's over in the right-hand corner of your screen. Click in there, the Q&A tool. You can pop your questions or comments in there, and we'll be watching it throughout the session. And we'll get to those during the session and at the end during Q&A. And then lastly, we will have this recording up on our YouTube channel, the Techiest Heck channel, in the next couple days. So if you have to hop out early or just love the session and want to share it with a peer, it's going to be up there in a few days. So keep an eye out for that. But with that, I'm going to hand it over to my buddy Josh to get us really started.
Yeah, hey friends, this is super exciting for me to be part of this, our first Techiest Heck Fest. I have been taught to not say first annual because that doesn't make sense, but we do plan to do this every year moving forward. And it's just such a cool event that, you know, we can all kind of come together. And I have learned, Holly and Anna, you guys this will resonate with you. This is not the kind of work that one person can do. It's going to take a lot of people to stay studied up on these things. And specifically, we were just kind of joking a minute ago about a good thing, but a good challenge that we face is if you want to stay up to date with what's happening with Google and AI and education, it's a full-time job, you know, and it's going to take a lot of people to really stay up. So that's what we're talking about today. If you're here because you are part of the Holly Clark fan club, like I am, and like Anna is, then you're probably wondering who in the world is this guy and why, where is that hillbilly accent coming from? So that's okay. So my name is Josh, and I lead the education strategy for Trafera, and I'm here with Anna, who I'll let Anna introduce herself here in just one second. But yeah, we're longtime friends of Holly's and Trafera. In case you're not familiar with what we do, if you look around your classroom and you see technology of any variety in your classroom throughout your school, we probably sell it. We probably support it. Anna and I are on the education team, and we provide professional learning to all of our customers to make sure that they are empowered with the skills that they need to create an instructional shift with the technology that they're buying from Trafera. So that's kind of where we sit within the organization and what we're passionate about. Like I say, I lead the education team. There are a handful of us on that team, and Anna is a cornerstone of this group, and she leads our AI strategy. So Anna, do you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll kick it over to Holly for the rest of the session?
Sure. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, you pretty much did my job for me, but I'm Anna Hanrahan, and I am part of the education team here at Trafera. I'm a teaching and learning consultant, and I help kind of bridge the gap between the technology and the teachers in the schools. I was a classroom teacher for 20 years before joining Trafera, and now the majority of my time is spent on getting studied up and learning all about all things AI and how it can actually impact and help both teaching and learning. And I'm a Google for Education certified trainer as well. So I'm really staying very up to date on all things Google AI. And I'm here just to kind of chime in here every once in a while and help support Holly and let you know that Trafera is here to help you with your AI needs as well. So take it away, Holly.
Thank you. And I'm Holly. I live in San Diego, and I have been in the Google kind of ecosystem since 2007. And in 2008, applied for the Google I don't even know what it's called anymore. It was like the Teachers Academy. So I've been doing this for a very long time. But I want to say that Trafera does handle a lot of the technology needs in your classroom. And then listening to Anna and Josh both talk and knowing that they are in charge of the PD that might come with some of that acquisition really means you're in good hands, because like we can't even get off video calls with each other because we're talking about all of these things. So I'm just super happy that you have that ability to grab that PD as part of some of the things that you do. And you'll see today as I talk and they talk that we're aligned a lot on the things that AI brings. And I do want to say that I agree with Josh. This is a full-time job. I just took an hour and a half before this to listen to Demis Hassabis like talking about what's going to happen with AI. And that was an hour and a half video I had to watch today. Tomorrow I'll have to watch something on Jensen Wong. I always have to be listening to what they're saying about AI because they lead the road. And I've got to think then, I've got to take it and put it into an educational perspective. And I do that a lot with those two. One thing I want to say about Demis Hassabis, who does Google's DeepMind, which is what we're all going to see today. I felt like after watching his video today, and I posted this on LinkedIn actually, is that he feels like he's curious. He's wanting to solve problems rather than some AI people who feel like they want to take over the world. So I feel in better hands with Demis and the Google kind of suite because of that reason. I think as we dig into AI, we need to be thinking about like, what are the things the people behind this tool are thinking and how is it being launched out to people? And I think we're in really good hands with Google. I've always felt that way, but especially with the person running Google's DeepMind. So I'm going to get started by talking about what we're going to look at in this particular session. And I really want to look at it in terms of student learning rather than always about teachers saving time. We will talk about teachers saving time, but really the focus should be on the experiences that kids are having, because we learned with the Chromebook kind of era that we can't wait for teachers often, or we can't wait for them to understand exactly how this is integrated or infused. We're going to look at AI as a thought partner. We're going to look at it for enhancing learning experiences. And we're going to talk about that enhancing word instead of personalization in a minute. So stay tuned. And then boosting student creativity. And Google is taking a really unique look at this in that they're allowing students to use some of the tools, but not all of them yet. And I think that's kind of the Demis Hassabis kind of look at it. Like, we're not going to give it to you if it's not safe. So they are, you know, some of the things teachers can use like Nano Banana and Whisk, but students can't yet. So this becomes a place where we demonstrate some of this in the classroom. So we're going to be looking at Gemini Notebook LM, Gemini for Education, the Nano Banana, which happens to be my favorite. I'm obsessed. Whisk I like a lot too because it's powered now by Nano Banana. And we might take a moment and look at Flow. I've become a little obsessed with that too. But I always kind of try to start my trainings by looking at, and I have a dog scratching at my door right now. I hope you are all not hearing it. I might have to go let him in, but I want you to look at how we used AI in 2024. So we used it to generate ideas. We used it for specific searches. We used it in kind of a Google way, if you think about it like this. Like, I have a question, I'm getting answers. I need to do something, I'm getting a one-way flow of it. We explored interesting topics. We did fun and nonsense, troubleshooting. But it's the next one that's really important to me. We used it for enhanced learning. And you'll notice that enhanced learning here falls at number 8, but it goes up to number 4. And the next one in the 2024 column, we have personalized learning. That one is falling. And there's a reason, I think, for that. General advice. So this 2024 column is kind of wrapping our heads around a Google kind of mindset. And 2025 is thinking differently about it. And now we're starting to make this shift. Therapy and companionship is number 1. Now, when people see that, they often are like, this is why I don't like AI. I don't want people marrying their AI. And that's not what this is. When they talk about companionship, they're talking about bringing in AI to retirement homes where people don't have visitors anymore and want to interact. Therapy for people who are in refugee camps where parents go and ask the AI, hey, I don't really know how my kids right now. Can you give me some advice? So some of these are pretty profound and they're not going to the like Her movie that we often think of. Organizing my life. Now that's different. Google didn't help us do that. So now we're jumping over there. We're jumping over to finding purpose. That's not something Google could help us. So you see the shift in how we're looking at AI differently in 2025. Now for the enhanced learning purposes, I want to talk a bit about that, because if you were to ask actually Gemini or ChatGPT or any of your large language models right now how AI can help education, they're going to say personalized learning. And personalized learning is a term that I think we need to think deeply about, because for a teacher to personalize learning for every student is a big ask. It takes a lot. Now with AI, it's less of an ask, but if you think about, instead of personalizing, you are enhancing a learning experience, maybe by bringing in Notebook LM, maybe by having kids do an image generation. We're doing something that's more achievable. And it's a term that recognizes AI's power to become a responsive mentor, not merely like this playlist curator where students are like, I love surfing, so let me do the lesson on surfing. We don't have to think of it that way. And so when I talk about enhanced learning in my workshops, people begin to kind of think of it less as this like huge task. Now I've got to go personalize all these lessons for kids. No, rather what I'm doing is just enhancing it so that maybe it meets the needs of people like myself who are dyslexic. Maybe it meets the needs of all neurodiverse learners, ESL learners. We're just enhancing it a little bit to do that. So we're going to look at the ways that we can do some of those things. But I want to say first that some of the power in Gemini is that it's private. So if your school has Gemini or has a Google Workspace, they keep it private and they promise that they're not taking any of the information to train a new model. They're in fact not keeping any of the information at those purposes. And that's super important. And it's why most people, if you have Gemini at your school, ask that you kind of use that in the school setting. And also you can search Gemini conversations. So the admin, if something really went down and you needed to, you could search those conversations. But here's what's important. The truth, I think it's FOIA. It's the truth in, I forget the name, maybe one of you guys knows it, but parents have done this a lot where I live, where they want to know exactly what conversations have been had at a school about their kid. And so it's really important that you understand that these Gemini conversations are part of that request that they can make. And for that reason, you really, even though it's private and secure at your school, you never want to put in any student data. You don't want to put in anything about students into the search. Now, it is more private than a ChatGPT or a large language model your school is might be using on the side, but it's important to understand those limitations. So while you're using it, just maybe take out, I've actually stripped out of Google Sheets. I put student A, B, C, D, and I knew who those students were because they're in alphabetical order, because I do a lot of looking at CSV files inside of Gemini to kind of take the nuggets out. And that's been a really important one for me. But here's some of the capabilities that we're going to go over. This is the only part in this where I'm going to be like talking at you instead of showing you. But Gemini's capabilities are things like the enhanced learning, giving kids instant feedback, which I'm going to give you the research on instant feedback and why it's so important. The dynamic lesson creation that you can do. When you do dynamic lesson creation, you still want to have the human in the loop, because it wouldn't be fair for teachers to go into Gemini and create a lesson plan that comes with homework and get mad that they cognitively offloaded that lesson plan creation and now are mad that students are using AI to do the homework. You need to stay in the loop the way that your students you would want them to stay in the loop, and then amplifying the student creativity and how we're going to be able to do that with some of these tools. My favorite being image generation, which you can't do yet with students, but you will be able to soon. You could go over to another app like Canva, but if you're trying to keep it kind of in the ecosystem, it'll be a minute before you'll be able to do that. So we're going to go look at Google Classroom and the Gemini first, or actually we're going to look at Gemini first, and then look at how we can use it to do some of these things like differentiate instruction, draft materials, generate ideas. We're going to look at Notebook LM and Gem's new storybook feature, which I love. It's still in beta and you need to be able to share it better, but it's still a really awesome tool. So I'm going to head over to Gemini. I need to come over and share this tab instead. So if you don't see Gemini, please let me know. I want to make you aware that I have the pro version, and a teacher wouldn't have the pro version. So I'm going to have some different tools that you won't have, but you do have one of the greatest of them all, which is this Nano Banana. And what's really important in Nano Banana is that it is right now, I think, and this is a Holly Clark opinion, so don't take this into anything that you do, but I think Nano Banana right now creates the best images on the web, and it also does it the most fast. Now I know for a fact it does it faster because I've tested it against other generators. I've also tested it against Canva, Adobe Express, and then Nano Banana. We had an experiment where we had teachers creating in all three. Nano Banana won every single time for its image generation. So I'm just going to do something quick so I can say, so right now I chose Nano Banana and it's at the bottom of the little window where you see the banana. So I don't even have to say create an image. I'm just going to say World War II with women soldiers and see what it creates. And why this is important is because teachers can create a provocative, and I don't mean provocative like sexy or something, but I mean something that can provoke thinking of students. And I could start my lesson saying, so this picture, do you think this is true or not? And now let's talk about what we know about World War II and whether or not there could have been this. And honestly, I don't know the answer to that right now. But it could be that provocation that starts class. So this is why it's kind of important for teachers to understand Gemini can do some of these things. Gemini also has these features. Now, this Nano Banana, let me stop and say that students don't have access to Nano Banana. And you could just call it the image generator, but I so much like saying Nano Banana. And they don't have access to that, but they will have some access depending on their age level to Gemini by itself to ask questions. I do want to show you, this is another thing that pro users have access to that you may not, but I'm going to open this video feature. And this video feature is really important because I'm going to ask it to create a video. So the scene is a newsroom and the broadcaster is saying there is a problem, and I should have typed this out first and had it ready to go, which I do for some other things, but there's a problem with flights in the US and everyone should stay home. And let's see what happens. Now, I have found that when I make these videos, they give the person inflection where they're like, oh, there's a problem. Now, because I asked it to do something that's news-based, Gemini, and this is really important, and I think this is a Demis Hassabis kind of situation, sometimes won't make the video because it realizes that it could be used for misinformation. But it appears to me making this one, we might just come back to it and look at it in a second. But this is super important for two reasons. I have the ability right now as a pro user to make these videos. I can make 5 a day. I can put them together. I can make 5 different ones, make it longer. And as a teacher, I could do that and make one of those provocations for kids, like maybe it's the end of the battle and you can see Rome with all these fires and the soldiers, or maybe gladiator, I don't know, lying on the floor. And I could say to my students, is this how a civilization ends? Or is it more complicated than that? And that's where we could start the discussion about the fall of Rome. I could use one of these for that interesting provocation. I used to teach history, and we used this thing called TCI. And TCI always started with an image that I had to put in a little, I don't even know what they're called anymore, but it was a slide that I put in a thing, and I would put it on my at the time chalkboard, and maybe I had a screen. And it would be like, look at this and what do you see? And it was the way to get kids into that historical time period. Now let's see what it did here. If it made this kind of fake news, really.
Breaking news. Air traffic control is experiencing a major system failure, prompting a nationwide ground stop. Officials are urging everyone to please stay home. Breaking news. Air traffic.
So this is problematic at best, because if I take this right now and I put it on TikTok, that could be reposted. All kinds of things could happen from this misinformation that I quickly just made in under 2 minutes. So that is why using this as a provocation, once it's available to all users, maybe you happen to have a pro account, there are other places you can make things like this, but would be really interesting as a provocation, because then students begin to see that there is this ability to make misinformation in a matter of seconds. And they might learn to question some of the things that they're seeing on Instagram or TikTok with a more critical eye. Now, my students probably would know, because the way his voice sounds, it's a little echoey, and that's one of the telltale signs of AI. But my mom would never know. And this is the kind of thing I think that we did incorrectly when we got Chromebooks. We didn't really teach students about validation of sources. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean that it's true. And it's why early on people didn't really like Wikipedia. They learned that it actually was a better source than some. But we have this now, and we have to make sure our students are ready to understand that. So I know that these things come out in Pro first, and then they come out in other programs. One of the ways that you can make a VO, this is called VO, this is 3.1, but you have access to VO2 inside of Vids. And I'm gonna see if I can go over to Vids really quickly. I wasn't gonna do that right now, but since it kind of lends itself to it, I am going to show you this. So I went to vids.google.com, which is kind of the naming structure for how to get to things. Gemini.google.com, notebooklm.google.com. You can get there however you want. But in today's world, if you just search Notebook LM, it's that someone has grabbed that site and sponsored something different. And so I'm really apprehensive about people Google searching things right now, because we were doing something where teachers had to go to Claude. And so they just typed in Claude, and what they got looked like Claude. And they were like, wait, my screen looks different than yours. And I went back and saw what they did, and they searched up Claude on Google. And this company had bought that first space and had gotten them all to go to this other tool. I also had it happen to me when I was looking up United Airlines customer service, and someone had bought that first thing. I didn't look because I was in a hurry and frustrated. And it took me to an 800 number that I quickly realized wasn't United, but it gained that first thing. And it took me a minute to realize it wasn't United. The only way that I recognized it is because I'm a 1K on United, and that means they answer my phone calls like right away. And this one didn't. And then when someone answered, they had a accent from another country, and I never get that because of my status on United. And I started to realize that this is becoming a huge problem. So now I'm trying to teach teachers to use that naming structure about like notebooklm.google.com, or use the bento box or waffle or apps, whatever. And you can use that up here on the right-hand side, and you can find Notebook LM. It's there. You can even move it if you would like to the top. If it's something that you like, you can do it the same for Gemini. It's in here. It's a little bit closer to the top, but Vids is there too. I should have done that. So you can use either way, but going and searching on Google right now, I don't recommend as much anymore. And I have to be honest, when I'm sitting next to someone on an airplane and they are like searching Google, I kind of think in my head, because I'm so entrenched in this AI space, I kind of think, oh, isn't that quaint? They're searching Google instead of going and getting the direct answer. Like, do they want to go read blog posts? And obviously in Google search, you have a Gemini light that comes up. But if you're searching for a product, you could run into issues. So if I want to start a new video, I have it's VO 3.1 now. That's pretty amazing. And VO 3.1 lets you make longer videos, whatever. So I have access to this. Now, in some education accounts, this is not there. I probably have access to it because of my pro account, but you can get the VO2 inside of Vids. So I could make that provocation video for something and then talk to the kids about, obviously this is AI, and what do you think of that? How do you know it's AI? What are we looking for? So we have that. So let me head back to Gemini. Have there been any questions? Let me ask that. It's okay if there haven't been, but we do have the question.
There's questions about the Nano Banana and the image generation, and I'm trying to get clarification on my end. From what I understand, image generation within Google for Education Workspace is blocked for students 18 and under. I think on the admin side, they can unblock that in certain instances. For the older students, perhaps. That's what I'm digging into right now. But
if that's true, you should unblock that.
But it said, looking to see that, it said, they asked, isn't Nano Banana available via Google AI Studio for all?
Yes. And we're going to go to some of those labs. But most teachers don't know how to get to Google AI Studio. So that's a big bridge for them to walk over. And I try to stay in my trainings in something like, if I'm talking about Google tools, something that'll be easy for that, for the new user. My power users are the ones who will raise their hand and say, hey, you could get to it both in Whisk and both in Flow, but students don't have access to that. So the AI Studio is a really good way. In a minute, I'm going to turn this over to Anna, who's going to talk to you about Canvas, because that's super exciting and important. But we're going to go to guided learning, and guided learning is a place where if I don't know something, so here's something I don't know about. I was listening to Dennis's office today, and I probably going to get this wrong. What is P and NP question? And I guess this is about, and this is what he was talking about. I guess it's about physics and how it is that he solved. I don't know if you know this, but he won the Nobel Prize for being able to find proteins that will kind of solve some of our health problems. In fact, in an interview, he said that in the next 10 years, we may not have disease, or what we have of disease will be able to solve because of these proteins to 3D image. So out of my level of whatever. So is P and NP question. So I'm going to use guided learning right now to help me learn about this P and NP question, which I shouldn't have done because it's physics and I'll never understand. But it's like, okay, let's unpack it. So the heart of the question is yada, yada. And it's going to keep trying to help me understand little parts of it. So it's saying, so to start our exploration, which of these aspects sound most interesting to you? And I actually have no idea. So I would have to go like, go to the beginning. I don't understand any of it, let's say. So it lets me unpack and learn something without just asking for an answer. It's going to have a conversation with me about it. And I'm not going to keep going because me typing on the screen is not turning out super well. But it becomes this place where I have a thought partner. I want to learn something new. I can say what I want to learn and we can walk through it. Now, just I think knowing the P versus NP question put me already at something that was much more sophisticated than I could start from, I think. So I could, though, do this about the fall of Rome, which I should have done. And I can use this guided learning. So these are some really fun ways that Gemini can be used for us when we're teaching something new, or to think of it through a student's eyes. And we don't always have to go to Gemini just to ask for questions or answers. We can understand some of those new ways of learning it. So I'm going to come back over, and I'm going to go to something else. But are there any other questions?
No, and we got some clarification that the image generation is it's restricted for users who are 18 and older. So for Nano Banana right now. And
I have to say that I really want kids to make image generations, because I do it all the time. But this gives me trust in Google and Denimis Hassabis and whoever's running the Google for Education team. Well, I know who's running it, because you know what, like, they're not sure that it's going to give you an image that's not inappropriate yet. And Google has always been really thoughtful about the way that they advanced, where other companies have been like, here you go, make images, hope the kids are safe. And I know that many of them put guardrails around it, but I've been in classrooms where kids have made images in other apps that they found a way to do some things. So I like the distinction here and the intention that Google is putting behind what it puts out for kids. So we have Gemini, but we also now have Gemini in the classroom. So I'm going to head over. I have to be on a different screen, so I'm not going to be able to see things. So please let me know if something happens and I need to look at the time. Oh, it's already 12:31. So I will make the Gemini quick, because just knowing about this is important. And I think the best feature that Google has right now, I think everyone would agree, is Notebook LM. There is just nothing that comes close to Notebook LM by anyone in any company. And in fact, in 2024, they won the AI Innovation Award over something like ChatGPT or Nano Banana, which wasn't out in 2024, but you know what I'm saying. So this is the best. So I'm going to head over and just quickly show this to you. And remind you that we need to, and I have to, let me see, I have to just change my share location. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and then I'm going to change where this is going to come from. And I think I go to window. There we go. So make sure, guys.
While you're looking, Holly, James had a question and asked that if the student use of image creation comes with a discussion about the ethics of AI image use, and what age should that discussion start?
So I've had it as young as 2nd grade, and really good discussions. And also the 2nd graders, the learning aspect of it is they put in descriptions, like a few words. And then as they added more words, which is what we want from kids, details, they saw those details come to life in real time. And it really helped them understand the value and importance of words. It helped them understand the value and importance in details. So I was able to have a pretty thoughtful conversation with 2nd graders. Now, I'm obviously going to have a much more detailed conversation with middle schoolers and high schoolers, and I just did a graphic generation thing with middle schoolers, and we actually, not me, a woman named Sam Mora, she's a talented tech integrationist. She made a Google site that allowed the kids to make an image with drop-down menus that made a prompt. And once they got that prompt, they did, in fact, take it over into Canva and made it. And it was about the scene, like, what's the island like in The Lord of the Flies? And the kids really enjoyed seeing what they thought the island was like kind of manifest on the screen. And they really, really liked it. So, but she, because couldn't do that in Google, she wanted something that would help layer on this image generation. She made it in Google Sites. I actually should probably get that site so other people can use it. But this one was specifically designed to ask, like, what's the setting, you know, like things that were in the book. So I'm going to head over to this. Now, can you guys see my Google Classroom? I think you can, but on my screen, it looks like there's like a mask over it. Do you see that same mask?
We can see it. Nope, it looks good.
Okay, so Gemini inside of Google Classroom lives right here. I think what most teachers, they see this and they see this lesson plan thing. And there's planning, there's instructional material, there's assessments, there's support students. And here you can translate text or re-level text, which is something that is so important. You have administrative tasks like maybe writing an email or newsletter, professional development plan. But what is so unique and what I love about Gemini for what it's doing here is this. So let's say I want to create DOK questions. And I even did a post about this, how another tool that I like to call a shortcut tool, which quite frankly, right here, Gemini is a shortcut tool, but it's added this entire prompt. And you get to see the prompt and all that it's asking. So if I were to ask it for DOK questions for chapter 6 of The Outsiders, it's something I always show. And sorry for not having it ready to type it in, but it's not just going to give me DOK questions, all other shortcut tools. And when I say that, I don't like to pick on companies. So that's why I'm calling them shortcut tools. I hope you can make the leap. They just give it to you. They give you DOK questions. In my post on LinkedIn, I showed how one shortcut tool just said, who's the main character in chapter 6? What happens in chapter 6? And that's what they gave us. And chapter 6 is this pivotal time in The Outsiders when the church catches on fire and Ponyboy and Dally and Johnny go in and they save these kids. And it never once references that. But you're going to see that this is going to do this. It says, even, maybe it listens to me, that it's a pivotal chapter with the church fire. And it asked me more questions. Tell me how you plan to use them and to see student comprehension. And it's going to keep asking me, okay, then what grade? Because I didn't say that. Instead of just giving me the answer, it's doing a more thoughtful experience here. So here I'm going to have it. It's going to give me, it might ask me, no, it's not actually. Oh, it says, how many would you like? So I'm going to do 3 each. The other one doesn't. It just gives me 4. And when, you can figure out what I'm talking about. And so now it's going to craft these. Oh, there's a total of 10 questions. I have a good handle on the content of chapter 6 for 7th grade. Anything else? No, go ahead and make. And I like the way it had a more thoughtful prompt. It asked me follow-up questions. It didn't just accept chapter 6 of The Outsiders. And you're going to see it doesn't wrap itself around the word chapter 6, the way shortcut tools that are meant to just help teachers do things by filling out a form do. And so this one says, instead of what happened in chapter 6, the way the other one does, what specific decisions does Johnny make at the beginning of the chapter that surprises Dally? That's a good DOK question. So it's not just giving us something that it's wrapping itself around. And so I really like what Gemini has done here, because teachers do need to save some time, but it asks follow-up questions. It has a detailed prompt, which is, I'm sure the shortcut tools that I'm talking about also have, we just don't see them, but it doesn't give the best responses. And I don't want to talk about like any other tools. I want to concentrate on this, but I'm going to grab a question here because Gemini has this thing where it will make a, let me see if I can find it here. The choice board. So I don't see it for some reason. Am I just not seeing it? It usually is right here. Let me go to instructional material and see if we get it there. Create a choice board. So instead of just putting in anything, I have a little bit more detailed prompt. Where did I get that prompt? You can tell by looking at the M-dash. For this particular one, I use ChatGPT, but I could use Gemini. And the M-dash gives it away. So I'm going to come down here and let me hide this because that's where my generate probably is. I need a grade. I'm going to put 7. I like to just do 7 and 8 because it's like middle of the road. And now it's going to create this choice board for me. It's saying, are these your objectives for being fast? I'm going to say yes and generate it. And it creates this colored choice board of things that students could answer about The Outsiders around the theme of empathy and bridging divides. And then It tells you how long it's going to be, and you can put this right into your class. And so this is kind of interesting. Now, you never want to take the human out of the loop. Is this the perfect thing that I need to read through them? This shouldn't be something you're like totally trying to save time on. This should be the starter. This should be your thought partner, get you going. You can even come in here and take some of them out if you want. And I can export it to docs where I could change it if I wanted to. But let's go back in and let me see the other one I wanted to do. Real world examples. So I'm going to come in here using that same kind of theme in the outsiders. I'm going to come back to Gemini, and I'm just going to come out, and it's mad at me because it wants me to save it. But I'm going to look for creating something with real world examples. So how could I make kids think about empathy that every kid, by the way, in case you don't know this, in the United States reads The Outsiders. There is not a school district. There is not, it's in everybody's curriculum. And so this is like really big. So I'm going to put in this prompt again and say, here's what I want the kids to do. This is a novel argues for the importance of empathy. How can I have real world examples? And I actually think it does a really good job. I'm not sure if it asks me more questions. Oh, grade level. So it's not just letting me off the hook here. And it continues with the follow-up questions it needs to make a better thing. It says, thanks, that helps me. Anything else I should know? And I'm just going to put no because we're trying to make this quick. And gotta look at the time. So this is going to be the last thing I do, and then I'm going to switch over to Notebook LM, and then I'm going to go back and let Anna look at Canvas with you. But you can see, like, talking to teachers, because they're going to see this Gemini in Classroom if they have to have it. And what are the ways that we can use this? So real world examples here is the unlikely friendship of C.P. Elias and Anne Atwater. I don't know who those people are, but it's like the Ponyboy Cherry moment. The Christmas truce of 1914 is one that they could study. I don't know. So that's taking, and this is how we know that we have knowledge kind of solidifying, is the transfer of knowledge, is when we can take something we learned and apply it to something new and novel, or in this case, real. And so these are some things that I could think of. The odd couple friendship between Scalia and Ginsburg. It's a little bit deep, but I get some inspiration. I'm not meant to just use this, but this might go, oh, that's also like the friendship of, I don't know, I could try and think of something. But this is a great place to get inspiration. I highly advise just filling out a form and taking from there what you get. And I don't think most teachers are doing that, but that instant kind of thought partner is really important. So I'm going to leave this. I'm going to come over and stop sharing for a second so I can get you to Notebook LM. And this is like my favorite example I'm about to show you. So Notebook LM is a tool from Google that allows students to do, let me just head over to my notebook. Here we go. And let me see. So I have something open. I was testing the sound. I am going to go back. Give me 1 second. I have to find it. Okay. So Notebook LM is a place that I can create these notebooks. Most of you know about it by now, but it has had some changes and updates. But I can create some resources, and I can do it. And it seems like, and maybe this is something we can double check, but that it's going to be available for students to use inside of Google Classroom itself, attached with possibly an assignment, maybe even making their own. I do have schools whose students have made them, but I don't know if they use their school account or their own account and then fudged on their birth date. I hope they didn't. I hope it was the right way. But inside of a notebook, you can see over here, I put the sources. And then I have this area where I can chat with the sources. Maybe I don't understand what happened in the Dust Bowl because this is about Oklahoma history. And I choose this one because the way it makes Oklahoma history sound is like circa 1980 something Dallas, and you have to be a certain age to know this, but like a mini soap opera about Oklahoma history. So here, based on the things that I have placed in the sources, a kid could say, when did the Dust Bowl happen? And it will come up and it will say, but it will reference exactly where in those sources it got that information. So it's not going out and just finding something willy-nilly on the internet, which is really great. So you can see right here, it's giving me an answer. And then when I do this, it shows me exactly in the source that it got that from, which is incredible, especially for someone who's teaching something that's scientific or historical or doing research in a language arts classroom. But over here you have your studio, and most people know about that, but they've recently updated the reports. And in the reports, I had 8, it could change. Today could be 12, but I could create a briefing doc, a study guide. I can create those things for students, and they place themselves right here in this little studio area. So as a teacher, I upload it with sources. Maybe it's about the N or P and NP thing that I was talking about. Kids can get help understanding it by having a chat with the sources only. And then I can create these resources that students can use. And so there are ones that are audio overviews. Most of us have seen those now. They're podcasts that are created about the stuff in here. And the video overview. Now, the video overview, I made it in English and Spanish. You can see here's my Spanish one, El Dust Bowl, Catastrophe Americana, whatever. I'm sure I'm making that, I'm butchering that. But here's the story of Oklahoma in English. Now, when you think of Oklahoma, and I have nothing but total respect for Oklahoma. I work with Oklahoma educators all the time. I love Oklahoma. My grandmother came during the Dust Bowl from Oklahoma, but listen to how it creates this sort of overview of the story of Oklahoma and how it makes it sound.
Let's talk about Oklahoma. You know, when you picture it, you might think of wide open plains, maybe that famous sense of optimism. But that's only half the story. It's also a place built on broken promises, unbelievable tragedy, and just this fierce resilience. And that's what makes it so fascinating. It's a story packed with contradictions. And in a lot of ways, it's really the story of America in miniature.
I mean, I've never really wanted to know the history of Oklahoma before, but now I do. It's a story of contradictions. It's filled with it creates something that is short. It's only 8 minutes that my students can maybe watch again or watch before they come to class. So I create all of these resources. I created them in English and in Spanish. And then now I can share this notebook out using Google Classroom. Kids can create their own using resources from your notes, from their notes, from your slide deck, whatever. But this is me creating one. I just saw a thing that says Nano Banana is now in video overview. So I was like, okay, well, give us that in the studio. I got ADD'd on that one. But I can create this really, this like study packet, this thing that students could interact with around the content. So I want you to think back to 1990 when we had a textbook full of stuff about, not full of stuff, maybe there were 3 paragraphs about the Dust Bowl, and I just got those 3 paragraphs. If I wanted, maybe in the latter 90s, I could go look online, but otherwise I had to go to the card catalog. I could not interact with this information the way I can now. And this is what will change instruction in classrooms. It becomes a thought partner for kids. You can also discover other resources or sources that you can put in there, and they can, and so you can do that, but they can really interact and ask the questions they might not raise their hand and do in class. And so this is just absolutely my favorite. I want to show you really quickly that I have all of this right now under settings. I have it in English. So I go to the output language. I use this really tiny drop-down menu, and I'm going to change it to Espanol. Now, for me, it's easy because my kids are mostly from Mexico, being a Californian. So I can pick that Mexico one, but there are different dialects, and I might need a different one. But it's going to, right now, when I refresh, change all of it to, and it should, to Spanish. And I can take this and now begin to make audio overviews while I'm in the Spanish mode, get the ones I got, then I come back over and I change it back to English so that I have those sources for kids who need them, who are speaking in different language. So I'm going to stop, and I'm going to let Anna, because I've talked Holy Toledo a lot, talk about like ways in which students, and I'm going to stop sharing if you want to go to your own, ways in which we can rethink this. I have some in our slide deck, which I never went back to, just been talking away. But now we have to think about how we can make this a stronger thing for students and their research and their understanding of content.
Sure.
Oh,
I'm going to go.
Did I?
No, you're good. I took it from you. Yeah, you said you're talking too much. They're here to listen to you, Holly. So I'm just going to take a really quick minute here and just showcase Canvas, because a lot of teachers see that it's in there. It's in there for the educators. It's also in there for the students, but they're not exactly sure what it does. Do you have a thought there? Yeah. So, and I also want to make sure that you realize that there's two versions of Gemini. It might be on here, like Holly, I have the Pro version right now, so it might be up here. But you can have the Flash version of this or the Pro version. And when I'm using Canvas, I usually make sure that it's toggled to Pro, because it's got the reasoning, math, and code, which is what Canvas really shines at. So Canvas is an interactive collaborative workspace right here within it. And you can find it right here in the tools. You can toggle down to Canvas. And I have a couple that I've already done that I just want to show you what it looks like. This one is just a quiz generation. I'm going to go to the next one. So what I did was I uploaded this big, huge, robust report on the Cold War. And if I was a student, I could upload that into Canvas, and I asked it to create an interactive multiple choice quiz about key treaties and leaders mentioned in this document. So what it did is it did that. It made this interactive quiz for me right here. And I'm not going to pretend that I know the answers. So I'm going to look at this first question. And I'm going to say, well, C looks about right. I was wrong. It tells me why I was wrong, what the Helsinki Final Act was, and shows me what the correct answer was. So such a simple, really easy way for students to create their own study guides and their interactive resources as they're going through this content. Another thing that Canvas can do is it's codes. It just makes these new things. I'm going to show you this new one. I'm going to go to Canvas and I'm going to drop in the prompt right here. And I'm asking it, oh, nope, it didn't do it. Okay, I didn't have it. I thought I had it saved in there. But basically what I did was I asked for it to create a 3D model of how a parallel circuit works. And I asked it to include the labels for it. And I can take it and I can interact with it. And I want to show you up here, this is what it looks like right now. But as it's building it, it shows you all the code that it uses to create it as well. So it's takes a few seconds and it goes through all this code, and then it flashes to the actual interactive display of it, which I think is pretty cool. Like a lot of things right now, it is beta. I've gone through a couple of these. Sometimes it'll say, oh, I'm not sure what you want, or it doesn't give me all of the information I need, but it is a really incredible tool to play around with. And like everything else, it's only going to continue to get better. And the final thing, oh, go ahead.
Kids can make that maybe 3D model that you know of?
Absolutely. Yep, the kids can do that. Yep, they can make like 3D geometric shapes and things like that. We did play around with that. And the final thing I wanted to show you was editing. If I put in, what I did was I uploaded my my draft of The Great Gatsby, and I asked it to highlight areas in my essay that are weak. And so it took it and it has my essay, and it highlights the weaknesses right here. And right within here, I could take my essay, and from what it gives you, you know, on the output of regular Gemini, you just have to copy and paste or export it to docs. You can go in here and delete and add words right here within the output, which I think is pretty cool. So you can interact with it right here if I wanted to. I think this is a great point, you know, whatever I want to say, I could do it right there without having to export it and edit it within docs or wherever, which I think is pretty cool. So I wanted to show that really quickly. I didn't want to take up all of Holly's time, but
this is
yes.
this is why I started with you guys. Are so great. So let me ask you some questions, because I haven't had the opportunity to play with Canvas as much as you did, and that's why I wanted you to show this. In some of these ways that you came up with, like, was that just you thinking and trying? Like, how did you come up with
it? Was a combination, you know, and honestly, I went to Gemini and I said, what are some ways that students can use Canvas to learn? You know, what are some ways that teachers can use it? You know, another way is interactive flashcards. That's another big thing. They have that built into Notebook LM now, which is fantastic. But you can put your content into Canvas and create your own interactive flashcards and like memory and matching games as well. So really, if you can code it, you can create it in Canvas, but you don't have to be a coder because it will code it for you. So I just went and I asked it for different ideas. You know, you can create different prototypes, different simulations, apps, web games, all of those things. And it's going to be a pretty basic level, but what an incredible place to start to just get that excitement for those students as they're moving forward with whatever their ideas might be.
Do you mind right now also, well, first I want to say, isn't it interesting that you just went and asked Gemini, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
we forget sometimes. Even I was like, wow, how'd you come up with those ideas? Hello.
No.
Yeah. But can you quickly show the storybook, Gem?
Oh, of course. I would love to. Yeah.
I would not want to leave this without showing that one. And then
Absolutely.
and I think it's 4 minutes. So talking about how students can use it, I guess we can just say, why don't you ask Gemini how students can use Notebook LM?
I'm sorry, I'm going to present something else.
Two different people have asked if you can share what you create in Canvas with your students.
That's a great question. It's tricky. You can. The only workaround we found, and Kristen is on this call with us, and she's the one that actually kind of mastered this, is you can copy the code that it generates. There's a little button up at the top where you can quick copy the code, and then you can embed it into Google Sites.
Yeah.
And in Google Sites, you can then share it with your students. It's not easy. It's a little tricky, but that's what we found.
Well, we're living beta right now. We don't have a Nano Banana for kids. We will. We don't have that for kids. We will.
Right.
I'm sorry, this is not clicking right. I'm not sure what's working with this right now. Sorry. Okay, let me see here. You know, things freeze up right at the most inopportune times, right?
And tell me if it freezes up and I can go in.
If you want to show, for whatever reason, it's not, my gems aren't coming up right now. I'm not sure what the problem is.
So I have to go to the window, come back to that. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see this. I'm going to go back to my classroom, or my Gemini. That's not the right one. Hold on. You make sure. So do you right now see my Google Classroom?
No.
Okay. Do you see just like a search?
It's ChatGPT.
Oh, sorry. Let me close that, come back. And if you have, okay. Reshare, stop sharing. So this will just be really quick. And then inside of Google Classroom, and there we go, is our gems. I personally am not using gems with kids because I use something else, but I think gems are fantastic. And if I go into gems and create a gem, one of the ones that just sits there as a standard is called Storybook. Yeah. And in the Storybook one, I can create, so I want a story. So in some parts of the United States, there's a lot of Nepali refugees. So I want a story about nouns or that shows nouns and verbs. I don't know what I'm doing right now, but with Nepali students. as the main characters, because I just want to show them in their, you know, have them see a storybook of them and what it's going to do. And it does take about 1 to 2 minutes, which will take up all of our time. It creates a storybook that has a story that can be read aloud to students. And in this one, I'm hoping it will teach them about nouns and verbs. And it looks like it's not going to create my story because I didn't give a good one. So let me do another one. Let me go back.
They take a while too to generate, don't they?
Yeah, but this one doesn't even have like a thing that shows. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to Gemini. I'm going here to create a gem. I'm going to story. And so I'm just looking to see if I have another storybook. I don't. And I'm going to say, create a storybook. I'm just going to use what they have. A 7-year-old doesn't want to sleep over at his grandma's house, so create a storybook to help them cope. Now, when it creates this storybook in a second, there's one thing that's missing. You can't share this with students. It appears in, listen, we're in beta right now.
Yeah.
This is the story of my life. I get really excited about something, want to show it, and then it doesn't make it. It's doing the same thing right now as I talked about earlier with something I love called Flow, which is in Google's Labs. And I'm going to see if it did it. Oh, there we go. So I guess I just need to be patient. But if I open this book, I now have, oh, it's just calling the kid Nepali. I probably spelled it wrong. But it will read it to them. It makes a book of whatever you want. So that other one was about a 7-year-old who doesn't want to sleep over. It had some reasoning there. And it will read it to them. So it'll read it. Verb. I did. That didn't turn out so well. But it makes the storybook about something maybe a student isn't comprehending. And right now, you cannot share it to Google Classroom. I'm not sure exactly what you're going to do with it at this point. I'm trying to figure that out. But this ability is here, and knowing about it is important because this is beta. We will have access to be able to create little stories for students about certain things that they're learning in class. So I did a really bad job. If we go back and really quickly just look at and see if the other one came up. Now we can see this one where the kid is afraid to sleep at her grandma's, yada, yada. So that's there. And I'm going to stop presenting. We'll look and see if there happens to be any other questions. But I think it's really exciting to see what's in beta and what is coming our way.
Yeah.
I think with storybooks, a lot of the teachers are sharing them on the panel at the front of the room with the class too, which is just, I guess, kind of the only way to do that right now since you can't share it, but I bet that's coming soon, are those capabilities.
And how cute if it were your birthday and there was
right.
Do I need to show any of those last slides, Kate?
I don't mind to walk us through just to close it out. I know that Kate had dropped in for there's 66 people remaining on the call and we're over time. It's unbelievable how committed you guys are to growing as professionals. It's so cool. So there in the chat box, there is a link to click to do the survey. That's how you get your coffee. And we just wanted to remind people that all of the things that we've talked about when paired up with the right hardware can go a long way. And for us in the Google ecosystem, that's probably driving with the Chromebook Plus. And so if you are interested in learning more about Chromebook Plus, we've put some slides in this deck that you can scroll through. I use a Chromebook Plus as my everyday machine just because it has the horsepower that would drive some other operating system. But when you put that i7 processor, high speed, the higher resolution camera, all that stuff in a Chromebook, you're really, it's like a Ferrari at that point. And so we feel very fortunate to have these at our fingertips. And we've listed a few things on the slides that Chromebook Plus is really good at. Other than that, Kate, was there anything else that we needed to do to wrap up the session?
Other than earning some free coffee and entering to win a prize, I don't think so. So up on the screen here, And like Josh said, over in the chat, you'll find the link to this survey. This is our way of getting, you raising your hand and saying, hey, give me some coffee. So head over there, fill out the survey. It gives us a little bit of insight about you, really helps us out, and we really appreciate it. So if you fill that out with a valid school email address, we'll send you a $5 Starbucks gift card as a thank you for being here. We like to call these little sessions coffee and convos. We know sometimes you need a little pick-me-up. So fill out that survey, take that. You'll also enter to win one of our giveaways for Techie as Heck Week, which is this Think and Sip prize pack. It's got a Kindle, it's got this great mug, and it's got some really amazing tea that's made in Minneapolis, which is where Trafera is based out of. It's some nice organic tea. It's nice. So anyway, so fill out that survey and we'll get that sent over to you. And if you want to click to the next slide.
Okay. I'm moved away from it. Doing it now.
Yeah, there you go. As I mentioned at the beginning, thanks again for being here. We're a little bit over, but this presentation was really kicking off our Techie as Heck Fest for Trafera. It's a virtual week of learning and practical tools delivered to you from our education team, our subject matter experts, really all sorts of stuff to help get the wheels turning in your head of ways that you can make technology work better for you and your organization. We've got sessions, we've got tools, we've got giveaways. So if you are interested in doing any more with us this week, we'd love to see you throughout the week. Feel free to scan that QR code and you'll see the agenda and all the tools that we have ready for you. So we'd love for you to keep participating. And thank you so much for joining us for this first kind of inaugural event of the week. And thank you, Holly. This was amazing. Thank you to our partners, Google for Education and Chromebook Plus. This was so much fun. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Anna. And mostly, as always, thank you everyone for joining us today. We know your time is precious, and the 53 of you even gave us extra, and that is unbelievably generous and wonderful. So thank you so much for being here. I mentioned at the top of the hour the recording of this. If you just loved the session, need to review it again or share it with someone, is going to be on our YouTube channel, the Techie as Heck channel. You can also just search Trafera. You'll find our YouTube, and then this whole session will be available for you in a couple days. But okay, breathe. Thank you again. Happy Monday. And we'll
Thank
see
you, Holly.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you all. Yeah.
I don't know where time went.
Yeah, bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.